What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. I am back with another video, another story time, another issue that took place with the female that she almost got set free from this man that she so desperately wanted to get free, but how she fell back victim to his traps and ensnarement. This video is called Helpless. I have, after listening to her message, I contribute this, and what reminds me of her situation is Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 34, and it reads, "You will go mad because of all the tragedy you see around you." What happens when you don't know God yet and you are faced with a person that you meet and you almost get away from the person because you realize that the situation is toxic, that it's not going anywhere, and you need to move away. And you almost quite get there. And then they snare you because they realize that their life is becoming not the way that they want it to be. Let's get right into this video. I contribute this message to a song that I also listen to. It's from Little Mo, and it's called "Do Me Wrong." Her spelling is Lil, Mo. Little Mo. Do Me Wrong. This woman's situation, which all the people that I talk about and give us story time to, will always be private, no matter what. And in her hometown, she met a guy. And when she met a guy, she used to go back, and he lived in another state. And she used to go and visit him within that state, and he was living with his family. And it came up for her to go to move out there. So she picked up, and she didn't have any kids. She was about, at this time, she was about like 19, 20. And she really liked this guy, and she picks up and she moves. And she starts to live with this guy. Well, she started to realize that the relationship wasn't going the way that it's supposed to be. And it was her second real relationship that she had. And in this situation, because she didn't know what the situation was, and because she wanted to get out of this situation, she started to look for an apartment. Something told her to start looking for an apartment, and she was going to stay in this place, in this new state. She'd never really been out of state, and she never lived in a place, but she felt that this place was a very nice place. It was a very good place. It was a very nice neighborhood, and wanted to stay there. So as a result, she looks for a place. And the day that she was to get an apartment, and she was supposed to go look at the apartment, she realized she had a month to go. And that day that she spoke to the landlord. Him and her was driving in a car, and they were going to work. And it was a snowy day. And in this snowy day, they were driving, and somehow the car started to slide, hit an embankment, and flipped over. Both were fine. They went to the hospital, and both were fine, and they got there. And as they got to the hospital, she left, and she realized that she did not want to go back, and she refused to go back. So as a result of her saying that she was not going to go back, and she refused to go back, she realized that she had another month to stay. She had another month to stay in the state in order for her to get the apartment and to live there. And so she stayed with a friend for about a month before she got the apartment, and she moved into the apartment. And she explained, and what I missed was, at the hospital, she indicated that she was not going to go back with him, and that she was going to break it off. And I think because she was lonely, when she got the apartment, she asked him to stay with her. Or no, he asked to stay with her, and she accepted. And as she accepted, they moved in together, and they started to furnish this apartment. And she was pretty much the main breadwinner. She was pretty much the breadwinner in the situation before he actually got a job. And they weren't quite getting along too much, but they seemed like they were getting along, that they started to furnish this apartment, and it looked nice, and they started to buy things, and this apartment, her first apartment, started to come together. And one day she came home, and she walked into the house, and she noticed that he wasn't there, and that he actually left her. But more importantly, the most tragic and hurtful thing, he took everything out of the house. He wiped her out. He left the bed and left the entertainment center, and everything else he wiped out. He took everything with him. Here she is, 19 years old, in this state, in this apartment, not having any family, not having barely any friends, only the friends at work, being wiped out and losing her boyfriend that she thought that she was going to develop this life with. She felt crushed. She felt hurt. She felt lonely. She felt so helpless. She tried everything to try to get him back, but he would not come back. So she had to go on with her life. And she went through a lot of issues, and she talked to me about what are the things do she believe? She believed that she had trauma. She believed that she carried these things with her. She dealt with, we talked about this, and we discovered that she had hatred. She had hatred because of what he did to her, that he left her, that he could be so callous and leave her. She dealt with being scared. She felt that he left her helpless and never wanted to actually be felt helpless again in her life. She was scared that she would be helpless, and that any person or any man that she came in contact with or she started a relationship will leave her helpless, leave her alone, to walk away, to not make it work. Like that song, like a bird without his wings, she was just sitting around. She had no trust at all. She had no trust for men. She had no trust for anyone, because she did nothing to provoke or to encourage such a harsh situation to happen to her. I talked to her and I asked her if she had faith, if she knew God at that time. And she said she didn't. She said she didn't, never read the Bible, never meditated, never prayed, never had a foundation. So I want you to actually look at this situation and think about this situation. Here you have a young girl in a state that she had no idea about, in an apartment that she never had in her life, a boyfriend that has now left her. And not only have left her, have wiped her out. She has no way of actually processing or having a foundation of God in her life. She had no way of praying or listening to what God would have instructed, because she was so young. She didn't know. Can you imagine? She is that bird without wings. She could not go up to the heavens. She could not pray. She could not do anything. So all she could do is deal with this situation all by herself. She was just sitting around with her wings clipped. As I listened to this situation, as I helped her, I gave her some quotes. And one of the quotes was from Francis Beaumont. Faith without works is like a bird without its wings. Though she may hop with her companion on earth, she will never fly with them to heaven. There was also a quote from Joyce Myers. As a bird without his wings, as a soldier without arms, so is a Christian without prayer. So how do we actually deal with her hatred? I thought of these things of how do we actually deal with her hatred? How do we deal and identify her scared and her afraid and her anxiety? How do we deal with her trust issues? What is the proper prescription to help her deal and be released and to be cured from this situation? I want you to type in the comments below, how would you help her? How would you deal with these root cause issues? But what I did prescribe to her was, the first thing was to build up her prayer life, and to build her strong within the Bible. I prescribed to her, and I showed her 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 17 to 18. Let's go over there. And it reads, always be joyful, never stop praying. But knowing that for her never to stop praying, when she started to pray and started to read her Bible, she needed hope to know that things get better and that she can make it through, that her end result can be actually forgiving herself and also forgiving him. So I prescribed to her Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. Once receiving hope and once notifying and seeing and understanding hope, You must have faith. So I prescribe Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6, and it reads, "And it is impossible to please God without faith. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that God exists and that he rewards those who sincerely seek him." And now we come to forgiveness. In Luke chapter 23, verses 34, Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing." And the soldiers gambled for his clothes by throwing dice. Forgiveness is not something for the person who have done you wrong, but forgiveness is for you to be able to let those issues go. How you know if you haven't truly forgiven someone? If they were in your presence right now, would it change the atmosphere in your heart? Would it cause you to feel anger and emotions in your mind? Would it cause you to have those evil thoughts come back? Those emotions flooding back? That's when you know that you have not forgiven. But it's a road to get to forgiveness. And first, it starts with prayer and have biblical understanding and biblical knowledge, going into hope and faith and ending with forgiveness for your heart to let it go. She needed to know and she needed to understand what happened to her, that she was in a tragic situation. She had no foundation whatsoever to be able to hold her together. Only her mind, only her will never to go back to her old hometown, but to move on and to keep trucking forward. But I say to her that God was with you the whole time, and he understand and he knew the things that you were going through, and he helped you. I believe that the Holy Spirit within your heart was groaning for you and praying for you. And that's why you were able to get an understanding and come to me and get an understanding of the things that you were going through. Because he did direct your path. And he did show that all the hurt that you went through, it was for you to be able, to know what a good relationship would be from experiencing that hope. I want to thank you guys for watching. I want to thank you for sharing your story. God bless you, and God bless your family. See you later. Bye.